So welcome everybody, Jeff Jackson, the Forge Fanatic here, and we are going to start today's great episode with my good friend Chris Leach down in Plainview, Texas. And our topic today is going to be pearl millets and everything cool about pearl millet. I have the man, the myth, the legend, the beard, Chris Leach with us today.
I don't even need a cool hat for a cool hat story. I just keep the beard.
We're in the pearl millet business. There's lots of good stuff going on out there today.
Yeah.
And we have a couple of tremendous brachytic BMR pearl millets.
Yes, sir.
What's probably your favorite attribute or your number one favorite thing about the BMR pearl millets?
You know, I was talking to my neighbor actually this morning, and I think my favorite thing is at this point is just versatility, right? So what else can you do in the warm season, deep south, Midwest, out west, everything besides the mountaintop? Where can I get high protein? Where can I get an NDFD 30 over 55, 60, 65?
Crazy.
Regrowth, doesn't take much water. Winter annuals and a summer annual mix with this BMR millet. For me, it's just a versatility. Take it anywhere, put it anywhere, and don't really have a problem, you know. Insects don't bug it.
No pun intended.
Yeah, no pun intended. Yes, sir. Yeah.
So your point about quality, I think that's a neat thing that I have helped promote and talked a lot about too. And I just pulled up some data next to me from a plot that we did here 2 years ago, planted June 8th, harvested July 22nd. So just barely over 30, about 40, 42 days. 35 inches tall, crude protein, 15%, NDFD 30 hours, 76.
Whoa, dude, that is phenomenal.
TDN was 63.4. Some of those numbers, RFQ 161. So anybody that understands fiber digestibility and quality, I think about that time is I probably got this first set of results, and then I had to go wild and talk about ruminant rocket fuel. Yeah, I think is what I called it, right?
Yeah, ruminant rocket fuel. Yeah, rocket fuel in the parlor.
But seriously, when you talk about some of that, and guys are like, so a cow-calf operation is one thing, but then you get into a dairy operation you're looking for fast feed, high digestibility, really good crude protein. Oh, and by the way, at that level of digestibility, you slip it right in a lactating ration and probably not skip a beat anywhere.
In fact, we're working with some local dairies to just really figure out, as we lose water in the Ogallala, you know, all the dairies out west fighting this deal, we really think that we can do a double cut, triple cut pearl millet system. You're going to reel in the starch anyways at this. This is where I think the future's headed out west, is really pushing for these high NDFD numbers. It's fermenting like a champ as long as you use a really good inoculant or wilt it just a tick. It's going to be a game changer in the next 5 years.
We put a concerted effort into pearl millet because of what it is, how it's used, the versatility of it. Your comment was almost anywhere but the top of a mountain. But let's talk about environmental conditions that are going to favor this pearl millet the best. And to your point, the higher we go, what happens to day length and temperatures, right?
Yeah, so nighttime temps, if they're below 50 in the summer, you're going to see some dormancy start to hit that plant really quickly. Longer days are awesome as you go north, but let's make sure there's a few key things, right? It's shallow planting, warm soil, warm summer, and as soon as you cool off below 50, we're kind of done. And so just a few easy points to keep in mind on that. You know, soil temp needs to be 60 for a really good fast stand, maybe if you're going to be warming in the next couple weeks.
Just so you're all aware, I have put 65-degree soil temperatures on most of our technical information so that we know. Yeah. This is like following morning labels on anything else. We all know how this goes, but I literally have told people 65 degrees is awesome. And if you're following another crop if you're following another annual crop over winter, that's usually going to push you out far enough that you're going to hit pretty warm soil temps anyway. Right. So those guys I don't worry so much about. The row crop guy that's used to planting corn and soybeans at colder temperatures, when they call and say, hey, where's that seed? I got the drill out. I just got done with wheat. Let's go.
Yeah. They get a little scary.
Right, we get scared with that.
I've had it where guys overwater millet even in a really warm climate like Arizona. Yeah. Let's say they get it too wet, or you get those North Dakota funky, cool evenings in the summer, and you give it a hangover. Yes, take that back. Make sure that on this BMR millet you're leaving a pretty good crown amount, right? And if you're running a disc bind, don't tilt it right down into it, right? You're running if you're opposed to back in the day, the sickle stuff, right? Sickle type mowers, it's a lot easier on the crop. Now that we're running higher speed disc binds of various brands and models, doesn't matter.
Right.
And high rotor speed is once you tilt that down into it, you're busting that crown open and you're killing the new shoots coming out in the crown. So if you're trying to get it out of a hangover, take it easy on it. It's already stressed. Don't fly through there at 13 miles an hour in your Heston, please. You're trying to bring a sick kid back, right? But once you knock that off, you get some sunshine on it and light rain, or maybe you got some soil moisture, it's back to the races, baby. I mean, it's in a jiffy.
I would challenge people, if you're curious on cutting height. I've got a gentleman that follows us quite closely, and he would be in northeast Nebraska. He will go cut plants off, split the stem open, find where that growing point is, and then he will adjust his cutting height according to about 15 or 20 samples. And that's not common. That's not common, I would say, but if more people want to jump on that bandwagon and become A+ students, that's how you do it.
Yeah, that's the correct way to do it. I mean, and what you're also going to do is you're going to add tonnage to that next cutting. And most guys don't want to spend the time. You're shooting yourself in the foot if you don't go look.
So if we had to make a general statement, my guess is this: if we're 35 to 40 inches tall, we probably have to be cutting about 6 inches to leave that growing point in there.
Yeah. 6 inches is usually a safe bet.
Cut height, wheel traffic, some of those things will be, if you're just trying to drive over every plant out there and see what happens, you're not going to have a good, I would say that's another catch-22 is that recreational driving without a reason out there is not good.
Guys will look at a product like this and then let's compare it to a conventional Hybrid Pearl Millet or conventional sorghum Sudan. The lack of lignin in that crown, because it's a better quality product, is prone to worse wheel traffic damage, right? There's no structure to help protect those new shoots in a summer annual. And because you'll have a guy do a really great job, put up some really nice feed, but not plant it next year because his recreational driving is out of hand. I think that's a terrible decision business-wise, but that's the reason why it doesn't have as good a regrowth sometimes.
And you said it very clearly. Let's make that statement. It's not the same as sorghum Sudan grass, folks. If you're in a hay grader world, there's different management practices to follow. So regrowth is one thing. And you just made a comment about conventional pearl millet.
It's awesome for your typical beef cowboy kind of guy. And you don't have to micromanage that as much in terms of feeding it out.
I'm going to follow up on that because I got this neat little data sheet right next to me that talks about this cutting where I had conventional pearl millet and 4611 BMR side by side in 2020. And literally, I'm looking at these NDFD numbers from 2020. And it says that the BMR pearl millet was 76.2, and the conventional, planted the same day, cut the same time, was, so we'll go from 76 to 72. 40 inches of plant height, 35 to 40 inches in 40 days.
Yeah,
But a cool example of how good they really are, side by side. Crude protein was nearly the same. The conventional was a touch taller, and I think that I noticed that whenever I do side by side plots out here in a commercial setting, it might just be a little bit quicker, or maybe it's not as brachytic. I'm not sure which it is from a forage quality standpoint. So one of the digestibility parameters was 4 points difference. And when we get to RFQ, it was like 15 points less.
Yeah.
But when you start throwing in the fiber and the digestibility, because it had a little more fiber, a little bit less digestible.
Yep.
7/10 of a point more lignin, so 3.2 to 3.9. It's really still pretty good stuff.
Well, and let's compare 4507 to a lot of the other products that are still out there. There's a lot of conventional hybrid pearl millets.
Then there's that
around, and they're as old as me, which doesn't say much.
TIFLI, by the way, people.
Yes, TIF3. other products, and they were awesome in their time, but yes, the lignan's higher. They've got more leaf disease pressure, prone problems in, higher humidity environments.
Yeah.
Let's face it, a lot of times 4507 is going to go to, like, I saw some nice stuff in the Sandhills of Nebraska, and they're going to just let it grow until the season's done. And so for most of the guys I'm seeing it on, and so they're going to be, not in that 70 range, but it's still going to be a lot better on the NFD. But it's still going to be a lot better than tip 3. 4507 is probably the most digestible conventional pearl millet in the country right now.
Well, and I think the other neat, important thing that you mentioned is that there are a lot of pearl millets that go into some pretty humid areas. A lot of humidity, a lot of leaf diseases. Yep. And I've seen some of these side by side, and it's an amazing difference when you look at the leaf health, the plant health. And then I did a comparison on my farm here a couple of years ago too, where I had golden German millet next to 4507 conventional pearl millet.
Yeah.
And I had about a season with, 35 or 40 inches of rain, which produces some pretty good yield. But just the leaf disease pressure that even the golden German millet had versus that 40, it was like night and day. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was crazy. Mm-hmm. Just like a ragged, beat up, old, rusty, disease-stricken thing, and this didn't have a speck of anything on it side by side.
It shouldn't. We, on an annual basis, we'll look at 400 new crosses a year, and picking out that leaf disease pressure has become very important for us.
I'm just going to toss this out here. So I had 2020 data from one location and 2021 data from another same location, different year. But just for reference, folks, we're talking about a 40 inches of BMR pearl millet planted at 15 pounds to the acre on really good dirt, taken care of, was 3.7 tons of dry matter in 44 days.
That's phenomenal.
That's a pretty dang good crop. So keep in mind, West Salem, Wisconsin. So
okay, all right.
So we're a little farther north. So we're talking Interstate 90.
Yep.
Right on the Mississippi River in a pretty good location. So good dirt, good moisture. Again, 3.7 tons. Believe it or not, the sorghum Sudan grass planted right next to it, 3.5 tons. So literally equaled the tonnage of the sorghum Sudan grass planted in the same field at the same time. Generally, they are going to plant, as we would say, 65-degree soil temperature, June 1st, June 6th, somewhere in that first week if they can hit it.
Okay. Man, that's great to know. I think that's something else important to look at. If you look at NOAA's long range forecast for this summer, this is a millet year out west. You're looking at possibly more drought conditions or less than acceptable rainfall. And if you look at the amount of feed produced in a less than adequate rainfall amount, generally these millets are going to outperform anything else out there in the summer.
I've been on this bandwagon to help get more pearl millet in the country because I think of the yield potential versus some of the other style of millets, golden German, Siberian, the white wonders.
Yeah, that's a millet. Yeah,
the Proso millets, all that kind of stuff. So again, on my farm, so sometimes that's kind of neat. I split a drill, 4507 conventional pearl millet with golden German millet. I talked about the plant health here just a minute ago. At 45 days, I went and harvested 10-foot a row, 2 rows wide. So I had 7.5-inch spacings on a drill, calculated the area, worked it all backwards. I had 4 ton of dry matter, which would be very similar to what I just talked about here. 4 ton of dry matter on my 4507 pearl millet and 2 ton of dry matter on my golden German millet planted the same rate, same side by side, same drill, same day.
Sure.
My observation on those plant types is that I had 10x the leaf material.
Yep.
And I had excellent regrowth on the pearl millet, and the golden German millet was it had a head on it already, kind of done in 45, 50 days.
Yep.
Nothing. So as you go west and start talking about people in the western states, maybe even bring that rim back around down south towards yourself, what do you see, observations, testimonials, stories with guys doing regular millets versus a good hybrid pearl millet in those kind of scenarios too, from yield-wise and stress tolerance-wise?
Well, let's back up to the differences. I mean, it says it all in the name, right? You're a hybrid. So these are a 3-way cross. we're crossing a male and a female to make our female and crossing it with another male. This is no difference in, do you want a set of Herefords? Do you want a set of all black cows? Do you want some black white face things you can take to the sale barn? So you're getting some hybrid vigor here, and that's what's going to carry you through droughts better. We're going to have larger root mass through this selective breeding process.
By far.
By far. I mean, you're looking at 8 foot of fibrous roots on most of these varieties, whereas your quicker single strain things, 45 days until they're done, you're never going to get there with the roots, right? You're not going to pick up your deep fertilizer that your crops missed. And that's why we're still getting some really good feedback from guys in the West and the Midwest where excessive fertilizer over the years in corn and beans and a few other things, your millet's going to go pick and scavenge all that expensive stuff you put out there and run it back through your animals or your hay or however you're selling your millet. The tonnage typically is double on most of these, if not better. I mean, you've got some stories on that too, like your house. And stress tolerance. If you look at the stress tolerance as something that was only meant to live 40 days versus something that can live all summer, it's a huge difference there. I mean, and mainly that's the root system there. You're never going to find wide leaves in a millet unless you go through a selective breeding process, and wide leaves mean digestibility. And it's a no-brainer really once you start looking at it. I don't have anybody that I know of that went back to German, Japanese, White Wonder. I mean, and the guys using ProCell for hay, I'm really confused about, because that's kind of like the bird seed thing. It's cheap, but it's not. You're not really gaining much there. Out west, it's a make or break thing every summer, and so why would you be using something that's generally not going to ton even close? So.
I tell you what, after I'd done those first couple comparisons, spent some time around you guys, looked at more plots, done more, so we've been pretty heavy on this thing for 6 years.
Yeah.
And that's been my goal, is to take, every time I hear about somebody buying 10 truckloads of foxtail millet, I'm like, man, we gotta have 10 loads of hybrid pearl millet out there, at least one, so they know the difference and get to see it. But
yeah,
manure management plan, it's going to be a good thing. And your point about the roots. So there's this really weird buzzword going on in the industry today, and it's like carbon.
Yeah.
So if you have a a very fibrous, deep-rooted plant, that's just another sink.
Yeah.
Deeper. The more you can protect that carbon that you're trying to store as well.
So interesting enough, on a carbon sequestration standpoint, hybrid millets put more carbon into the ground than any other summer annual grass. And so if you're trying to capitalize on one of those programs, this is where you need to be, in my personal opinion. So fantastic. It's also good on, I feel like I'm like jackrabbit trailing you through here, but it's also really good on nematode activities. I've got some guys that have called up here from cotton countries asking about using BMR or non-BMR millets to help with their nematodes, using that as a cover crop. And the breakdown of some of the portions of the millet are working against the nematodes. So that's, a little biofumigation activity as well. Some of the potato guys are doing that as well. So the thing's super versatile.
Oh, and by the way, since we're on the insect topic, it's not sugarcane aphid host either. So it's a temperate crop for sugarcane aphids.
Yeah.
Think about that, guys.
Yeah, if you don't want to keep spraying for aphids, just plant millet. It's just like way too simple to get away from. Especially some of these cowboy guys that I'll ask them, hey, do you have any sugarcane aphids in your hay grazer last year? And I knew what they planted, and it's not aphid tolerant. Oh no, I never have aphid. You go look at their hay, and it's black with soot. It's easy. It's a good fit for people that aren't going to be hardcore managers.
No sugarcane aphid host, so you don't have to worry about that. It helps break up some of these guys that might be farther north in row crop country. If you can do your crop rotation piece, it's not a corn rootworm host. It's not going to host Goss's wilt, tar spot, all those other things that are just ripping people apart right now. So in your rotation, and if you were to rotate your pearl millet with an awesome triticale crop and go 365 days a year, that time schedule when one gets planted and the last one goes off, and when you can swap out, put some manure in there and get going.
Yep. Phenomenal,
It's about as sweet a spot as you can get. So
yeah, it is.
Multiple groups I've talked to, different things I've tried. We've seen some people that are using sorghum sedan grasses very creatively in maybe some grass pasture situations and other things. And I just wanted to bring this up because I think you're going to have about the same feeling. If the dirt you're planting into doesn't have a dead crop on it, don't plant pearl millet because it can't handle that extra competition. So for somebody that sees this guy that's planted, well, for example, we've taken a first cutting alfalfa, literally planted sorghum sedan grass into a live alfalfa stand and had it do pretty well. I don't think that pearl millet has maybe it's the seed size and the vigor to compete with that and get going.
A lot of it's the seeding depth, right? So that alfalfa is going to suck that top portion out and dry. And so once it comes up, you're done. And so that's been the biggest concern with guys doing things like that.
Yeah. So I just want to caution everybody because you're going to ask that question. Well, I saw somebody or heard this, or Jeff, you were on a meeting talking about one thing or another. And was that pearl millet? No, that was a sorghum sedan grass. Pearl millet. I have had guys go, like to your point, we first cutting alfalfa, let it get a few inches tall, nuked it. Maybe put a slurry out, some pit water, done a little fertilizer application, 16,000 gallons of manure, adds a little moisture, and then they go plant the pearl millet in, no-till right over it. Beautiful crop.
No big deal.
No competition.
That's a kicker. No competition.
Anything like new, different, creative? I mean, it's worth asking. Like, is there anything really that you're sitting back there going, that you can let out of the bag? I mean, there's
I think what's really cool in the near future, we've spent a few years trying to get through different crosses of a faster BMR and or non-BMR silage-specific millet for the north. We're trying to get something that's extremely fast growth, same tonnage or better than the others, that you can maybe shave 15, 20 days off up there. And still, we're trying to work into that northern beef and dairy market, right? And so I think that's our next goal. And when you come down to the nursery this summer, I think you'll be impressed with some of them.
Obviously, we can cut it multiple times. We can still graze this stuff with great efficacy, guys, and not worry about it. But don't let them graze it down to the dirt.
That's a great thing for out here. A lot of our guys are going to bale it once, water it, and then let it frost kill, and then use that as their winter pasture. It's phenomenal.
Chris, I tell you what, this little interview's been a long time coming, and it feels so good to have all this information captured finally because I have this weird production experience on one side of the bag, and you have this neat production experience on the other side, and now a neat little collection of observations, experiences.
My 2 cents.
Graze it, cut it for hay, cut it, wilt it, do baleage, cut it, wilt it, do silage. Well, great. Mr. Chris Leach, thank you for your time today.
Yeah, always good to chat, bro. If y'all got questions or anything, just reach out to me.
Right on. Well, everybody, we're going to sign off here from the Forage Fanatic and Mr. Millet down there in the south. Have yourself a great day. Thanks again.
Thanks. See ya. Bye.